put some tools in your toolbox, even if you're planning for an epidural, because you could feel that pressure, which really throws some people off quite a bit. Having that nurse in your corner that is a good match for you personality-wise is really important. Communication is the biggest thing that will always change, reverse, minimize any kind of a birth trauma.
Motherhood is all-consuming.
Having babies, nursing, feeling the fear of loving someone that much.
And there's this baby on your chest, and boom, your entire life has changed.
It's a privilege of being your child's safest space and watching your heart walk around outside of your body.
The truth is, I can be having the best time being a mum 1 minute, and then the next I'm questioning all my life choices.
I'm Lo Mansfield, your host of the Lo and Behold podcast. Mama of 4 littles, former labor and postpartum RN, CLC, and your new best friend in the messy middle space of all the choices you are making in pregnancy, birth, and motherhood. If there is one thing I know after years of delivering babies at the bedside and then having and now raising those 4 of my own, it is that there is no such thing as a best way to do any of this. And we're leaning into that truth here. With a mix of real life and what the textbook says, expert insights, and practical applications, each week we're making our way towards stories that we participate in, stories that we are honest about, and stories that are ours. This is the Lo and Behold podcast. Today's guest is someone that I absolutely love on social media. And so it was such a gift for me to talk to them. And I am really excited to put them in front of you too. I have Tina with me from Mama Nurse Tina. She is an energetic, hilarious, humorous, some of these adjectives are mine, labor and delivery nurse, postpartum nurse, and mama of 4, who's just really passionate about families like yours having the full access to the information that you need to have an empowered and safe birthing experience, wherever that might happen. She's been a nurse since 2007, and she's been online since 2022, where she is just providing evidence-based info to people around the world through all of the social media platforms. She shares information on pregnancy. She shares info on labor prep, childbirth tips, postpartum life, with a special interest, which I love, and we're going to get into in birth trauma and how to minimize that with improved communication within all of the different healthcare systems that we may be having our babies. I love her. This conversation is a gift. She is such a delight, both to talk to and to learn from. I'm laughing, you guys, because I just told my beloved guest that I'm going to fangirl over her, and she told me I would be the first person fangirling over her, and that's absolutely not true, and I know that's not true. You guys,
expand my headphones so that my head can fit inside of them.
I could see it happening. I have Tina with me from Mama Nurse Tina on basically all of the platforms, I'm sure. And I'm going to have her go ahead and introduce herself in case you guys don't know who Tina is. And then we're just going to get to chatting today.
It's going to be a good chat. So I'm Tina. I go by Mama Nurse Tina on all the socials. Basically, I'm a mom of 4. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 17 years, and I've been labor and delivery bedside since 2012. And it's become my absolute just like passion in life. And then I've been educating online since about 2022. So lots of fun things in there. I've recently taken up stand-up comedy, so you'll find quite a bit of very low-key, relatable, laced with humor information on my pages.
Sometimes I like to ask people the question like, oh, if you weren't doing XYZ, what would you be doing? But I feel like with you, it's like also cool that maybe you are doing both of the things you love, which is really neat, because this sounds like a new thing, but a thing that like I also love this too.
It is, yeah. And I said I feel really blessed because people in like the comedy genre, very traditionally, it's a huge grind, and we see this out of people. And it's like they have to work at it and work at it and work at it to make it a little bit. And it's like the hustle is there, and so I feel very blessed that I can do it like as a hobby, like a passion project, if you will. And so I'm having a really good time with it, and it's sort of added like the sprinkle on top of my 40s that I'm loving absolutely everything I'm doing right now.
Also, that you're a mom of 4 is a whole other thing.
That's a lot of kids.
I mean,
that is a lot of kids.
A lot of kids.
That's a lot of kids.
I do. I briefly saw you share once in a story once, and I know you don't like specifically share your children and your family. You're a birth platform, which is great. But I saw you do like, oh, I'm doing a day on my own of pickups and drop-offs or something. And it was this short little thing. And I just think like, is this not the realest thing that resonates with so many people too, though? Of like, I'm not complaining, but I am at like 4 different things. And
I ate no less than 3 meals in the car. Like, your meals have to be something you can put in your lap and eat it on the go.
And it's this whole conversation, I think, for a lot of us of like, we wanted this, we prayed for this or whatever. But man, the reality still is like, woof,
it's real hard.
This is a lot.
Yeah, it's real hard. I recently did a trip to Los Angeles to visit another creator and do a comedy show. And I got home. And so I went from we went out and sat on the steps and had coffee in the morning in the sun. And then I was at a sold out comedy club. And then I came home and it was minus 30. I had to get up at 6:30, pack the lunches, get the kids to and from activities. And I was like, man, this is a life.
It is. Well, and I think also I want to talk to you about birthy things, but also the reality is I'm going to air quote this here, but you're an influencer too, right? And so people, I think sometimes are like, what does that look like? What does that mean? And it's like, sometimes I might be on a stage, but 95% of the time I'm making lunches and driving carpools and drop offs too. Yeah. And it's like so much more normal. It's just figuring out how to incorporate all this other part in the midst of the very, very normal things that you're doing every day.
I wipe, like I said, no less than 2 butts a day. Wash your hands. Don't pee on that. Get your hands out of your pants. Yeah.
Hopefully, as our kids get older, we can stop wiping butts and move on to other activities.
It is interesting how you see life shifts change, because I am friends with other people in the same space who have younger kids, and they're like, "How do you get so much done?" And I was like, "But this stage of my life, my kids are in school all day, all 4 of them. But last year I had 1.5 days. So last year I got half as much done. And the year before that she was not in any school. So I got, a third of the stuff done. So I think it's definitely life cycles change and the little kid problems turn into big kid problems. And so, it's just a different day, right? Busy day, different day.
Yeah. And changes, like you said, is the seasonality of it is a constantly changing thing.
Which is the cool thing about parenting.
I know. Well, I was like, it's kind of good segue back into some birth stuff too. I actually want to jump back into, you said that you switched from, it was ER nursing into L&D in 2012. So I'm doing some quick math. You've mostly been in L&D your whole career. Yeah. Was the ER
I will say 4 kids though, and we get a year mat leave in Canada. So 4 of those years were on mat leave.
That's so
I was a baby factory for 4.
Me being someone from the US is over here a little bit annoyed at you, but also happy for you.
I don't know. Amazing. I don't know what needs to happen for that to change there. It's it's bananas to me that is the way it is. But that's a whole thing.
It is. It is. I mentioned to you before you started, I got to live abroad for a couple of years, and one of the moms was from Germany, and she had her 4th baby. And Germany, someone from Germany is probably going to tell me I'm getting this wrong, so maybe I'm remembering it a little bit wrong. But you get a full year or something like that. But if you have, or I want to say 2 years, and if you have a baby in those 2 years, it keeps pushing.
Oh, there you go.
It's not like you start the clock over, you still get the 2. So she had kids from 0 to 8. When I first met her, she had 4. Wow. And she's like, I've been on maternity leave for 8 years though.
This whole time, right?
And I don't know that they were paying her, but her position was held. She knew she could move back to Germany if they were going to leave the country that we were in. It was just such a really thing to think about.
It's almost like they appreciate women and want to encourage a healthy postpartum experience with their kids and
for the whole family, right?
And it's unreal that's how it works sometimes when you really think about it.
Well, luckily for the rest of us, Tina is here to help us, guys. So.
I cannot pay your bills for a year, but
no, you can't.
I can try to help you through it.
Okay, so the switch from ER to L&D, which clearly is a passion, obviously we can see that in you now. Is that just a product of, I wanted to get into nursing, I stepped into ER first, and then was like, I want to be with this population?
So in nursing school, you have an option to sort of try to choose your last area that you are placed in. And then often if you love it, you can get a job there easier, right? So my choices were emergency and labor and delivery. Those are my 2, and I could not figure out which one I wanted to do. I ended up going with emergency because at the time funding was way better and the supports for new grads was also way better for nursing. So I got a grad nurse initiative and worked in Emerge, and I loved it. It was great. But over the years, it's I know we were talking earlier, the systems are very, very different, Canadian system and the US system. So in the Canadian system, there's just a shortage of beds. There's a shortage of people where people can go. And there's an influx of patients. And specifically the city that I work in, the last hospital built was the one I work at. It was 30 years ago, but the city has expanded by millions of people. So as the years went on, it just sort of got more and more, I would say, toxic, where the reward was less and the ability to support what you wanted to do as a nurse was not there. So like you have patients that you want to do more things for, but you just can't. Like you don't have the time. You have 3 patients in the hallway. And it just got to the point where I was like, this is not it for me. Like this is not something I want to do long term. And then with that, you have more cases of like nurse abuse and just people being rude and like, because they're experiencing the biggest emergency of their lives. And so it's stressful for them. And so a lot of times that comes out as being taken out on healthcare workers. So I said, nah, I don't think this is it for me long term. I'm done being spit on, really. And then the other thing that happened was emergency nurses don't love deliveries. Usually they're like, no, like she got to go upstairs. But if an emergency delivery came in, people ran away and I ran to it.
Were you all over it?
Yeah,
give me
like,
this.
I came flying up like, help is on the way, dear. Like from the back to the very front, right?
Totally.
Because it was just amazing to me. Like it was, I was like, every time even now I'll watch a birth and be like, like, how is this happening? It's so cool. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go. I dabbled in ICU. I was like, no, that's not for me. I did some travel nursing, and then I finally had an opportunity to get into labor and delivery nursing because it can be hard to get into. And I was like, that's it for me. Like, this is great. I love it.
Yeah. I feel like so many L&D nurses, I don't know that you fall into it. Like, oh, I wasn't sure. And I just started there and realized that there is this some sort of underlying passion or like that. I'm going to run to them in my ER job. There's something in there.
Yeah. Or you've thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And like, that's the only place you ever wanted to do your practicums. Like, you're like, med surge. Oh man. Like, I just want to go.
Well, I heard that as a nurse all the time. Is like, it's really hard to get a job as a new grad, so you're probably gonna have to start in med surge. And I always like, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I agree. Med surge though, really good place to get your skills up.
It is
like really, really good, and time management skill. Like it's, I mean, you learn a ton. Like, I mean, is it the most enjoyable for most people? And some people are just diehard med surge nurses, and I love them for that. And there's some good ones out there, but I feel like if you got placed there, it wouldn't, like, you have to look at the positive side of things. Like, maybe it's not where you want to be, but like, I think you're really going to grow as a nurse there. And then that'll kind of give you the gusto on your resume to be able to be like, hey, I'm ready for this other great thing.
Which is like almost verbatim what any nurse will tell you, right? And that's what I heard too when I was a new grad, is like everything you just said. And so you're like, okay. And there's this like, almost take the job that is available to you, because you can't just get what you want when you're a new grad usually. Yeah.
Except now,
but know that
that's like no nurses. And
true. Also another conversation.
Apply anywhere you want.
You'll probably get that plus the bonus, which I was not getting when I started either.
Right? What's this? An assistant to a cardiothoracic surgeon? That feels like something I could do. Apply.
Totally.
Do you have a resume? Nope. Just shooting from the hip.
Have you passed the NCLEX? Later.
I think I'm going
just kidding. You have to pass
later
the
this year.
Although this does not matter to anyone else. Probably you don't take the NCLEX, but you must have something else that you guys do.
I travel nurse, so I had to do the Canadian exam, and then I had to write the NCLEX. But now the Canadian nurses write the NCLEX. So that's their final exam. So they're like dual. They could do Canada or the States. I had to go and write it in the States as a separate thing, which was a whole experience.
When you say write it, are you saying take the test?
Take it. Yes. Sorry.
For my American listeners.
Click the test. Because Canadian, it used to be like you had like a morning section and a written section. So it was like, anyway.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I actually want to talk to you. I have heard you say on another podcast, like you guys heard her mention, she has had 4 kids. You talked about like, oh, I would do things so differently if I had my kids now, because your kids are a little older, like you were sharing. Are there some specifics that you would be willing to share with us about like things you would change, or places you've changed your mind, places that your eyes have been opened up because of your work? Like, what are some of those things that you would change?
I think that social media has given me the ability to really look into people's other perspectives of things. And I think I was like, I had just started in labor and delivery for a little bit when I had my first baby. So like, I didn't know. And I find too, in labor and delivery, this is kind of a bummer. When you're trained on the unit, you're trained by like a preceptor nurse or a more senior nurse. And if that nurse's style is really different from yours, like you're going to learn what they do. You're not necessarily going to learn what you could do, right? So somebody doesn't love all of that bells and whistles stuff. That's totally fine. Like there's a patient for them out there that doesn't want all of the bells and whistles. But if you don't learn it, then you're also not comfortable like doing it in your own practice. And so I think a lot of these things are going to get lost in the shuffle. And so when I started to do social media, I was like, oh, wow, like look at this thing you can do. This is why you might want to do this. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I like went in pretty early. I got an epidural really early. I sort of just like laid on my side. They broke my water really early because it's just like, it's stuff that I've seen done. must be good. Great. I would say I would labor longer at home. I wish I had. I have a garbage pain tolerance, but I think knowing now some of the things that I could have done to cope with that pain and prepped ahead of time, like I think I definitely could have gone longer than 3 centimeters. Like I feel certain that I could, especially knowing the benefits of lasting longer at home. So I would stay home longer. I would have taken the epidural later, especially with my first baby. I would have repositioned to a lot more fun ergonomic positions in the bed, and I would have stayed vertical before I got my epidural. So those are the things I think I would have done. And I probably would have waited later to get my water broken, I think, as opposed to, I think at the time I had been in prodromal labor for what felt like early labor for what felt like a year, but I mean, it was a week and a half. Like I was walking the track, and like I was that pregnant lady that had to stop on the track and be like, and they were like, "Are you going to crack that kid out like right here?" No, it's good. But yeah, so I was like desperate. I was like, "This is awful. Like this sucks so bad." I had 2 membrane sweeps, which probably aggravated the prodromal labor. Again, things that you're like, oh, that makes sense now, right? So I was like, whatever you need to do to get this baby out. And she was like, just come see me. I'm on at 6. We'll just break your water and get things moving. So we broke my water really early. And I think I would have changed that. I would have done it a little bit later. So there's a few things that I would have done differently. I still would have gotten an epidural. I just would have waited a little bit longer to get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. And so much of that, my brain's going like, here, this is me trying to say like a little lesson for anyone who just listened to that. So much of that's about movement. Like if y'all want a quick birthing tip, like the more you move, which staying home indicates you're probably moving more. Getting an epidural later means you're probably moving more. Ergonomic, different movements. You're moving differently. You're moving better. Like so much, I think of like, I'm going to air quote this, but like good labor is about movement. Is that everything? No, obviously you guys know other stuff comes up, but like, man, the more we stay mobile, the more we are willing to move that body around.
Yeah. I always say movement, if you think about movement for you is motion for your baby. So like nothing bad is ever going to happen. Like you're not going to push your baby back up if you move too much. Like it's not a thing. Right. So yeah. And like I pushed my baby out on my back. So even now, like I have pictures of me giving birth that I love to look at. But I mean, like if I were to put it on social media, I can guarantee you people would be like, why are you on your back? Because we talk so much about like moving and you know what, let's be real here. If being on your back works for you, that's great. That's fine. Like if your body says this feels good, it's probably what your body needs. But just being in the space I'm like, yeah, I don't even want to open that can of worms. Cause I agree. Like I would have done it differently, especially with my first, cause I think I didn't push for long. I labored down. And then I pushed for like 42 minutes, which I was like super happy with, but I did it all on my back. And I'm like, you know what? I wonder if, hindsight, if I had been on all fours or if I had, done a side lying pushing or something like that, if it had been 38 minutes or 32 minutes, who knows, right? So lots of things I would do differently. Yeah. I mean, I had great labors. So I think I would be thinking about it a lot harder if things had gone less positively in those situations. But I always say too, what I see people doing, we're talking about movement, this is an aside. The thing I see people doing, and one of the biggest mistakes I think people are making is they're like, I'm going to get an epidural, not till later. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like you let me know when you're ready. But then instead of utilizing the ability to be upright in those hours before you get the epidural, they're like laying in the bed in the fetal position, like just in agony for whatever reason. And I'm like, at this point, like, I don't know if it's really benefiting you to wait for that epidural. Because in those people, I'm kind of like, if you got an epidural and you were relaxed and you had a nap, like that would probably do you more benefit than laying in one position, being scared, frightened, frustrated, in agony. So I always say, like, if you're going to wait, that's amazing. That's what I would do. But like utilize that ability to have your 2 feet on the ground. Because once you have the epidural, your feet are off the ground, you're in the bed and you can move, but it's not the same. So really be upright as much as you can before you get the epidural, if you know you're going to get one eventually anyway.
It's so good. It's like, to me, what popped in my head is the idea of like productive waiting.
Yeah.
And like, if you're waiting simply because you've told yourself, I'm not going to get one till I'm 6 centimeters, there's no point in that if you're not, like utilizing the centimeters up until that point.
Like you're not utilizing the benefits of not having an epidural. Absolutely. And that's why there's that argument of like, does an epidural slow down labor? And I'm like, it could for like minutes. Like, I mean, we're not talking hours like we used to when our epidurals like blocked us up to here and we were like, I can't feel anything. Like a good epidural now should allow you to move, which like it aids in the slowdown. But yeah, like sometimes they can speed them up for those people who are so tense because they're just waiting and like they're looking at the clock and be like, how many more of these contractions do I have to go through to get to 6 and then I can have my epidural? Like that's not helping you mentally or physically, really. So yeah.
No,
I think
it's
for
good.
those people, it doesn't slow it down.
When you had, I know you kind of were talking about first baby, do you feel like you changed things for 2, 3, 4, or you were still kind of in the same place? It went great last time, I'll do it again type vibe?
I think birth changed it for me, like, because it just went quicker. And I think my second baby I dilated really quickly. I mean, by the time I went in there, I was already like 5, as opposed to the first one, I was like 2 to 3. She said 3. I'm like, I feel like I was 2 to 3.
Being generous.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, 3, like, just to make me feel like I did something good. So I think my labor just did it for me. And it's like your cervix is just so much more ready with the other babies. And like, it was like a push and a half and baby was out. So that's why I think we get stuck up on like, don't lay on your back to push. But like, I really think for some people, it's fine. Like it's great for some people because it works well for them. If there's like a second, third, fourth time mom, they're like, there's so much pressure and the baby's head is right there. You're like, just push once and your baby is out. It doesn't matter what position you're in. Like, your baby's coming out, and that's great and lovely. So yeah, I think I would have done the same things. I would have probably waited to get the epidural a little bit longer, but in those situations, like, it was literally so quick. My last one, though, she was my trickiest one. She was an induction at 38 weeks for IUGR. She was a little bitty. She came out 5'15". She was very, very cute. But she was the first one that, like, there was ever any issues at the ultrasounds. I said to my mom, I was like, you should come. I'm like, you've never come to any of my ultrasounds. Come, it'll be so fun. We'll go for lunch after. And like, that was the ultrasound where like, the radiologist walks in after, and I was like, oh no, what are we doing here? My mom's like, is this normally what happens? And I was like, no. So then we had our lunch at the labor and delivery unit for an NSD. Anyway, so she just sort of kept falling off the growth curve. And so we actually induced at 38 weeks. And I was GBS positive with that pregnancy. I was not with any of the other pregnancies. So that added into it, because you assume, oh, it's a fourth baby. Like, we're just going to break my water and I'm just going to like cough a baby out or whatever. But then you had to plan in like making sure that you had your antibiotics on board before you did that. And then I was like, oh, the kids, you can bring the kids over around supper time. Like, we'll be great by then. And she didn't come till like 10:15 at night. We started at 8 o'clock in the morning because she just wouldn't engage. She was like super sky high. Like, my obstetrician changed into scrubs at one point in time. And I was like, what you doing there? What? Because she was like dipping with the heart rate, right? So what's going on there?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I just spilled some of my lunch.
They're just
on my
comfortable.
And I was like, I've literally seen you walk around with spaghetti on your shirt before. Like, that's not what this is. Like, we're not, no, it's my fourth baby. We're not. And I mean, if things had gone wrong, obviously we would have ended up in the back, but it took some repositioning. But again, like, I don't know why my labor and delivery nurse brain isn't like, didn't get me there quicker. It's just so weird, right? Anyway, so we did some repositioning and it was all for her. She like suddenly spun and then came down on a fourth time cervix that was paper thin, and it went from 6 to fully in like a second and a half. And I was then screaming my head off because now my epidural can't keep up. And I sort of felt almost what it would feel like to have an unmedicated birth, that I was not ready. I was not prepared.
Like, and I didn't want to.
I did not want to. I had never felt anything. And I kept saying to my provider, like, get your hands out of me. She's like, I'm not actually touching you. She's like, that's your baby's head. She's like, seriously, Tina, push like once. And she's here. She's 5 pounds. Like, push once. And I just like couldn't get to, it was the most different birth that I had ever had. So yeah.
I actually love that for like a third or a fourth baby. I think it just reiterates like I always say, hey guys, the wisdom you pull forward is so valuable. So we are not discrediting that. Like, what a gift when you're a third timer and you're like, I have all this wisdom, everything I've learned from my first couple of times. Like, we can't have that when we're first. We can learn from others who have it, but there's that wisdom that we get to pull personally, but also that recognition, like, every birth is going to be different. And so it does require of you, I feel like, some learning, some awareness, some staying present and like what the possibilities are. Like, every time Kelvin and I were prepping for birth, we like kind of went through the whole thing again. And like the whole, like, these are my preferences if we end up in the OR, and like, these are what I want if XYZ happens. And for the most part, like, we never had to exercise like those other preferences. We kind of like followed game plans. Yeah. And they like worked out, but it was like almost a reminder to him every time, and to myself as well, but like, hey, there's no guarantee that this is going to be this kind of like ideal plan that we have laid out right now. And it feels like sometimes like, don't acknowledge the things you don't want, like that whole manifestation type conversation. But for me, it was also like, no, let's just be sure that we understand what we want in this scenario, and we'll focus back on what we're hoping for. And so even fourth baby, like, we were doing it every time. So I think it's just so important for people to do that. Like you just said, my fourth birth was like my most different one, my most unexpected one. And most people don't think that. Longer than the second, longer than the third. Like, it was wild. I was like, why is she not like, and she's little, like, she's itty bitty, right? And yeah, I think I was like 3 centimeters
she was sky high. She was like in my tonsils. I was like, what is happening here? And they checked me after, like, so I was on oxytocin because I was in induction, and they checked me, I feel like maybe I think I waited till like 4 hours later, and they were like, oh, you're still 3. It's like, what? What? I said, listen, get your shit together. Yeah. She was different. The pregnancy, everything was different with her. So it is interesting that you're like, oh, as I said, my mom just kept waiting because she's like, she should have had the baby by now. And it was 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, still not here. I don't know what we're doing. So yeah, it was wild. Yeah. But again, that position, she finally like made that rotation, and boom. And it was like, oh my God, it was wild. So good. Applaud to everybody that does the unmedicated births. It's not for me. I was a bit of a crazy human. But again, you wonder though, this is why I say maybe put some tools in your toolbox, even if you're planning for an epidural, because you could feel that pressure, which really throws some people off quite a bit. They're like, I don't know what I'm feeling. But also, like, if things fail, or if things only work on one side, or if the anesthesiologist is busy and it takes you an hour and a half or 2 hours longer to get your epidural than you were hoping for, like, to have those tools in your toolbox in that moment. Like, I have to wonder if I had practiced anything, if I would have been able to like make that a little nicer for everybody involved.
No, definitely.
Get off me.
I have a patient, I'll never forget her. She ended up being a friend because delivered 2 of her babies. But the second one, the first one was like days long induction. She had this kidney thing going on in her first baby. So it was like early induction with a first timer, which typically is going to take quite a while.
It's like this long.
Yeah. I remember her being in tears. Her whole family was very involved. They were so sweet. And she came in for the second baby, and it was the classic second baby. And she's standing at the door. I could tell you the room number that she was in still. And the baby's coming. Like, we're not going to get her anything she wants or needs. She just has to have this baby. And she was so mad. Like, I do not want to do it like this. Like, even in the moment was like, this is not what I want. She fully planned on getting an epidural. That was the plan, And so I've just never forgotten that. And like you were saying, the idea of teaching, like, hey, if you want an epidural, great. And I will teach you everything you want about epidural too. But also, I just need you to have some tools for if it doesn't work out. Because she actually said after, like, that was so traumatizing. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't want it to be that way. Like, I don't know that she would say later on, oh, I had like this persistent trauma from experiencing birth that way. But because it was so not what she wanted or planned for, even though some would say, oh, the baby came out so fast, like, you're so lucky. Yeah, and then you didn't tear and you had this baby. She's like, but that's not how I wanted it to be. And so it was so interesting to watch that. I feel like it was my first experience as a nurse of seeing someone be like angry and upset for it going that way. But also later on, her ability to be like, I didn't plan for this. Like, that's not what I wanted. And so it was kind of a cool learning experience for me too, to watch and see.
Where they're like, no, I need my epidural. And we're like, no, seriously, your baby, like push once. No, I'm going to wait. It's like, I swear she was like, no, I will cross my legs. Give me the epidural. Because the only thing in the mind that, up to that point is like, I'm doing this with an epidural. I'm going to do it and I'm not going to feel it. And it's like, well, we can't, logically it's like, no, you're not. You're going to have it no matter what. But that's not the brain space they'd ever put themselves in. And so it was not I had an epidural, and it felt out of control, because that's just not how my other epidural births have gone.
Yeah.
So, and we have to remember, like, if you make a significant change very quickly, a lot of times you will feel breakthrough pain, because that epidural just cannot keep up with that. It needs that time to like percolate, right? So they're great for labors that are progressing in a nice labory fashion.
Like textbook,
Yeah, they are when that shit hits the fan, man. The epidural's like, no, I'm out. I got you here.
I'm doing my best.
You're on your own. Yeah, I'll just be here in 15 minutes when you need a repair. I'll finally be back up and running.
And it kicks back in. I know.
Give me 15 minutes.
And then when you need to get out of bed and go to the bathroom, and then it's really clicking. And then you're like, we turned you off. Face.
You're like, oh my God. Yeah, where were you 20 minutes ago? Thanks. Thanks for nothing.
Hey friend, quick pause for just a second. If you are listening to this podcast because you want to feel more prepared, more confident, and less freaked out about birth, that is exactly why I created the Your Body, Your Birth course. This birth course will not tell you what kind of birth you should want, and nobody has the right to do that. It is about helping you understand what's happening in your body, what your options actually are, and how to walk into your birth feeling grounded, excited, ready, instead of overwhelmed and scared. When you have education like this, everything changes. Your mindset, your conversations with your care team, and the birth experience itself. No more relying on random opinions, okay? Stop scrolling. Take intentional action with me and start trusting your body, your voice, and your decisions today. Head over to www.thelabormama.com/birth, also linked in your show notes. And be sure to use the code podcast at checkout to save 20% and start working towards this better birth for you right now. Okay, let's get you back to the episode. Okay, I'm going to pivot us a little bit. I'm sure some people are like, oh, I've heard her talk about this when I ask you this, but I love the way that you talk about it. This idea of like how patients can decline, say no, switch providers, just some of that advocacy stuff, because I know you're big on it as well. I've seen you do reels with other people that have gotten like called out by other providers, which has
by
been like,
one provider.
Well, yeah,
one.
I know. But anyways, I remember watching the reel and I was like, I literally do not understand what this provider is upset about. Yeah. But essentially,
because there's so much scary stuff online, and you'll be like you'll flip and you'll be like, this could kill somebody. This could kill somebody. And I was like, really? This is what we're upset about, that people should be encouraged to push how they're comfortable. Okay. Well, anyway.
Well, and it's this idea of context, right? Too, like if you're doing a reel or a video or YouTube and you're modeling like how to say no, if you pull one part of that out,
oh man,
then that looks like some pretty foolish education. But if we're showing this whole flow of like, hey, if an IV is something you don't need and you're low risk, and let's talk about what that can look like then that's a really helpful thing for people who are in that position. So I guess my question in that is, do you have some like favorite scripts or like ways you kind of set people up or teach them about, here's how you can decline something? Or we could even role play this like, hey, I'm your patient. I'm telling you, I don't want an IV right now. Here's my reasons. Like, how do you kind of teach about that? And let's, not take it out of context. Full combo.
I think best case scenario, you have a nurse that's patient and is willing to learn with you. And I was actually just watching a reel. Now I can't remember who it was by, but she said like, I've had people come in with birth plans and they don't even know what's on the birth plan. They just printed off a template and they're like, here's my birth plan. And you're like, so she says, I always sit and I talk through everything on the birth plan. And I ask them why this is their preference, or if it's something that is usually standard, like, tell me what you're nervous about, or tell me what you're anxious about, or tell me why, you're wanting to not do this as opposed to do it. And I think that that's a really nice first step, is that having more healthcare workers who are willing to sit down and have those conversations. I always think that more information is better than less information. And so you can sort of ask them that, like, why, what are your thoughts on this? Like, what did you hear? What do you need to know? What do you feel like you need more information on it? And I think we also need to wrap our head around the fact that like people have autonomy over their own bodies and over their birth. And I think that for some people, that's a really hard pill to swallow, that somebody might actually not feel the same way that they feel about everything. And that's where that black and white mentality is a really big issue. And so I think having a little bit of like a thought process behind being like, okay, like they understand, because lots of people will be able to tell you like, these are my reasons why not. And they're probably valid reasons for most people. And then you can be like, okay, well, they're aware of the risks. And I think as long as someone's aware of the risks, like, then you like it, I love it. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to have your birth. And I always say that I really, really feel in my gut that like, no matter what someone is choosing, like whether it's what I would choose or their provider would choose, like they are genuinely choosing what they feel is best for them and their family. Like no one is picking things. No one is saying, I don't want vitamin K because I want to harm my baby. Like that's, like in their mind, they're like, vitamin K is wrong for whatever reason they believe it to be wrong. I feel it's best and safest for my baby to not give the vitamin K. Like that's the thought process. It's not like, I can't wait to just wreck this place up and like bleed out and hurt my baby in the process. Like no one's doing that. And so I think for some reason, some healthcare workers, they feel like personally offended when people are declining things, which is really, really unfortunate. So I would say to people, like, the first thing you need to do when you're building your village or the people that are going to be with you with birth is make sure that you have the right people with you. And sometimes this is a little bit of a startling statement. Sometimes it's not the person who made the baby that's the right person to be there. I mean, they can be there, but you might need to have somebody else there, because you have to have somebody who has balls enough to be like, this is not what she wanted. This is what she wants. Because even the strongest personalities, when you are the person that is vulnerable, when you are the person that is giving birth, and you have somebody in a position of power speaking to you in those moments, you can lose your voice completely. Even though you have the loudest voice, every other day of the week. And so you need somebody that's going to be your megaphone. And that's not every personality. That's not every human out there. So I think curating that village of people that's going to be with you is like the first important step. The second important step is to make sure that that village of people is on the same page as you. So going over their birth plan, going over what they want for their birth well before the labor, and going over it multiple times. Because like while you're pushing a baby out, that's not the time to be like, honey, what does delayed cord clamping mean?
Exactly.
You put this here, then you crossed it out and you put this, like, which one are we? That's not the time for it. So like they need to be in line, and they need to be ready to speak up at any point in time. And then I always say, like, if you're having issues in the room, your charge nurse is going to be the person that you can always go to. Like that will always be a person that you can speak to about a provider, about a medical student that you didn't want in the room, about a nurse who you're just not vibing with. They're going to be there to talk to you about it. But I always say, come at it kind but firm. So I think some people just come at it like I want to cause a ruckus because I'm not happy. And I get it, because it's like, you have one birth with this one baby. And so if something is happening that you're not a fan of, I want more than anything for you to fix it, because I want you to feel good about your birth afterwards. But I think if you come at it kind but firm, you're going to have better results, because then whoever is involved, and you know what, the charge nurse like wasn't even involved, but they're going to be the person that's probably going to dissipate the situation. So if you come at them like angry, and they're like, hi, my name's Tina, nice to meet you, I've never seen you before, you're going to have less positive results. So, and then I always say, if you're not being taken seriously, the phrase that I always tell people to repeat is like, my symptoms have changed. I want this recorded in my chart. When you start repeating that as like a mantra, if you're not being taken seriously, it kind of triggers people to be like, oh, wait, like, yes, this is probably more serious of a situation than I'm thinking of. Because sometimes healthcare providers, unfortunately, we get stuck in this like robotics, where we're like, we have to do this, and then we have to do this, and then we have to do this. And no, you have to have this, because that's what we do. And so when anything kind of strays from the regular, sometimes we don't realize that like, this is a whole person. This is their one experience with this one baby. This might be their only experience with a baby. This might be the first experience with a baby. It's not ours. It's my 100th. It's my 1,000th, whatever it might be. So it kind of triggers us to be like, oh, shoot, right. Yeah, no, like, let's take this seriously. And then the last thing I always say is that you can ask for a different nurse at any point in time. And the reason I say that is because not every personality is going to jive with every other personality. That's human life, and that's totally okay. And I'm going to tell you that if we are not jiving, I know it. Like, I'm not oblivious to it. I'm not like, oh, everyone loves me. I'm like, I feel it, and I want better for you. And like I said earlier, like, there are some nurses who don't love to do all of the sprinkles and the roses and whatever it may be. And that's fine, because I'm guaranteeing you there's a patient that wants very minimal things done for them, and they want to be in their own zone and be unbothered. So that's a great match. But if you have somebody who is wanting to be coached through and wanting to be supported and wanting to do the shower and the birthing ball and the birth sling and all the on their head and whatever it may be, and you have a nurse who's like, that's like their worst nightmare, like, that's just not going to be a good jive. Will they do it? I mean, I hope so. I goddamn hope so. But like, would it be a better match if you brought somebody in who loved doing all of those things? Absolutely. And I always hear people say, oh, I had a great birth except for that one nurse. And I'm like, it's like, I wish you had asked for a new nurse, because I would never want to be that one nurse that they will remember forever. Like, their kids 40.
As the bad one, not the good one.
they're like, yeah, son, we had a great nurse, except for that one nurse, Tina, who really fucked it all up, you know? So I would say, like, and online, you'll hear a lot of people say, like, if you don't like your provider, just ask for another provider, which is true. I mean, you can ask for another provider, but I think you're going to have better luck finding a different nurse than you might, because there's just not as many providers to just change in and out like Monopoly pieces. Whereas I'm guaranteeing you there are more nurses on the floor, because your nurse is going to be the one that's going to be, and they're going to be the ones with you for most of the time. So sometimes I've done it where I've jived really well with a patient. They have not jived well with, I don't know, a resident or a doctor that's in there. And like, I'll sort of take the reins and do most of the stuff and do most of the communicating with them outside of the room, unless it's something that they need to be present for. And then that way the patient's sort of shielded from it, but they're also protected, because the provider who has all of that knowledge on how to manage this patient in labor is still involved, is still looking at the strip, is still taking in all the information that I'm giving them to make a really good plan of care. So I'm always saying, you can ask, but I said, and you're going to have a better luck asking for a new nurse. And please ask for a new nurse. Like, don't let that one nurse that's just not a thing, not a jive, be the reason that you're like, that was 99%.
So
I want 100. I want 100%.
No, it's so good. And I appreciate one thing in there that you acknowledge is that idea of maybe not actually being able to change your provider, because I do think a lot of us teach that's a possibility. I feel like it's a possibility a little more like prenatally sometimes. And that's if you don't live in a care desert where there are options too. So that's another part of that combo. But yes, it's true. Sometimes you deliver at 3 a.m. and the hospital has one on-call OB for the whole unit and you're not liking them. There is no other delivering provider. And so I think it's important to acknowledge that is a possibility and something you could discuss with your nurse. Like if you really don't like who just, came in and was chatting about things with you, but recognizing, then well, that's what I'm like picturing was come in and check your cervix and leave. Maybe you don't love their vibe, but
you're like, what just happened? I know. I was sleeping. I don't know.
It's kind of a joke, but it does go like that sometimes, guys.
And that's something though that I've learned, in learning on social media, because I feel like if you only ever see the one population and the one culture on the one unit that you work in, it's really hard for you to sort of open up your eyes and see what else is out there. And I think that's the beauty for me on social media and following different creators and learning different patients' experiences, because then you really see, like, I thought, I just ask for a new provider, because where I work, there's 2 or 3 on at a time, right? And there's residents who are very, very skilled that could definitely handle your delivery and do an amazing job, but it's not like that everywhere. And so I learned about, maternal deserts. I learned about the struggles that some people have with their OB group and that sort of thing. So that's been really nice for me to be like, oh, okay. So I've sort of reframed it where you can ask for that, but you might have better luck. And here's what's cooler is that if you find that nurse that jives with you, they're going to go to bat for you. They're going to go to war and back, and they're going to be the ones that are now going to handle that conflict between you and the doctor and sort of be that buffer that you might need to really make it go a lot smoother. Maybe there's one thing that they're not a fan of, but the nurse knows the OB and they know how to sort of switch that on and off. They can do that work for you. So that's why I say having that nurse in your corner that is a good match for you personality wise is really important. So I say focus on that. And then if you can't switch out your provider, if it's a real big pain, then your nurse can go to bat for you.
That's what I was going to circle back to, is that idea too of the nurse being, I'm going to say, more important and relationally, like we're saying right now. And so not letting that one slide. If you have to let the provider slide, like you're saying, maybe you have to, I'm sorry, that sucks. But that's why it is so important that the nurse is your advocate. So figuring that relationship out really when you walk in and is this someone I'm feeling good about? How am I feeling when we're going through this birth plan? Asking, and just to clarify, just in case some of you don't know, the charge nurse is one nurse who's keeping an eye on the entire unit. And then you will have a nurse. So Tina mentioned earlier, the charge nurse is the person you could talk to about some of these things. So that's how I think some moms sometimes are how do I tell my nurse I don't want them anymore? And that's where you call the front desk and you ask to speak to the charge nurse, something like that. And then they come in and then you can say, hey, we're not jiving. Can I have a different nurse possibly? This just isn't a great situation. So that's kind of difference between charge nurse and then your bedside nurse. So what you want is your bedside nurse to be your person. And it's if that vibe isn't there, that's where you can maybe get that charge nurse involved and ask. And then I think Tina would probably affirm this too, but we typically, when we're giving report to the next nurse or the charge nurse before they make assignments, we're saying, hey, XYZ person would be really great for them because this mama's all in on, we know our coworkers. And so we're likely going to set this up well for you moving forward too. So you want to set it up well for yourself from the start, and it's probably going to trickle down and you're going to keep getting providers who fit because a lot of times we get to weigh in a little on who should take care of you next. So it's just so important.
I think it does surprise a lot of people to find out how much the nurse is with you if you're giving birth in the hospital versus the physician. So we're managing your birth as long as it's going well and we're not super concerned. We're managing your birth. We're managing your oxytocin drip. We're looking at your baby's tracing. We're watching your vitals. We're starting to push with you. We're taking out the catheter if you had one. We're managing the epidural if it's not a problem. And then we're pushing with you till you see this much of baby's head. And then we're going to call the doctor in. And then they're going to come in and manage the rest of the birth and then the after and the repair and having the placenta come out. So a lot of people will be like, oh, we're going to push. Are you going to call the doctor? And I'm like, nope.
No, I love that.
We're going to we're going to get it till
they look at you kind of panic. Are you allowed to push with me? And it's yes.
I think Hollywood is to blame for a ton of misconceptions because in Hollywood, they're and then they just pull back their legs and they're and they're oh, baby. They don't realize that it could take 45 minutes or an hour of work before the doctor even needs to be on the unit, you know? So,
I also always laugh at shows like Grey's Anatomy or something where the doctor's like at the bedside doing everything that literally only a nurse would do, or maybe even like a CNA. Yeah. Let me just draw these labs real quick.
I'm gonna put a catheter in.
Yeah. They don't know how to put in catheters anymore. They haven't done that in 25 years.
My husband's an emergency physician, and I looked at him and I was like, when's the last time you started an IV? He's like, probably in high school. The only doctor, that's what people say. Can you call the doctor for that ID? And I was like,
you don't want me to. Maybe the anesthesiologist. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. They're who I call when I'm like, I cannot get this. And like, usually I can get it. But yeah, I'm like, you don't want the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, as FYI, nurses can catch your baby. Like if I would say this, if your baby is sliding out like faster than we can get the doctor in because we misjudged how sometimes babies just, they come around that corner and they're just like, and you're like, whoa. Like there was this much and now there's, So if that's the case, like your nurse can absolutely catch your baby. Like the bottom of the bed is there. Like worst case scenario, your baby is just going to slide out onto the bed.
Right onto the bed.
And that's best case. No shoulders, no short cord. Baby just comes right out. You're like, great, here's your baby. Looks good. So,
well, and wouldn't you say that typically babies that fly out that quickly don't have shoulders and cords? Yeah. Like they're flying out because there's no impediment to the path, you know, and all of a sudden here they come.
If you're worried and the doctor actually doesn't make it, because sometimes it's a tricky, like you would agree, it's a tricky balance. You're trying to not call them too early.
Yeah.
You're not trying to call them too late. And then sometimes you misjudge it and
for sure.
and then you're like, oopsie, so sorry.
I know.
Rest assured, like if it happened, it would be okay. Like this whole, like, we're going to tell people to not push. We need to, like, it's okay. We can, if the baby's coming out that easily, it's going to be okay. Baby's not hitting the floor. The bed is together. It's fine. We got it.
Yeah. No, it's a good note, I think, because I do think people are in a panic of like, I need to push and you're telling me not to. And it's like, good Lord. Like if you're feeling that strongly that you need to put like, just let it come out, Mom.
I usually say like, if you need to push to let the pressure off, go ahead. Like, I mean, if you can avoid like giving it every ounce of energy you have, I mean, that's better. But
great.
I mean, if you need to do that, I mean, we'll be okay. Like we'll be all right.
Yeah. I still remember one of the deliveries that I did, like a nurse catch, and the doctor walked in and the head was out, and I'm looking at him. I didn't have my gloves on because the baby did come out. And so I ran in the room and was like, oh shoot, we're delivering. Yep. Yeah. And I looked at him and was like, you want to take over? And he's like, you're doing great. And he just stood there.
You're like,
and like, let me deliver the shoulders. It had like a little loose cord. And he's like, just tuck it through. You know, he's like, just walk. But he was not worried about it either, which I think is a good reminder of like, most of the people on this unit can deliver a normal baby coming out if it happened. And so to trust your body and not be panicking if someone's making it seem like you cannot deliver this baby unless this one person is here. Like maybe you want them there and that's ideal or whatever, but it's probably going to be okay if you just need to go with it too.
If that baby's coming out really, really fast and you were in the car, you would deliver your baby. So
for sure.
It'll be all right. We'll get there. I mean, best case scenario, we make the right call on timing and everyone's happy and baby comes out. And other case, not even worst case, other case, your baby comes out anyway. And your
probably all still happy.
Your doctor will probably be like 30 seconds down the hall and then they're there for all the other things that have to happen. So it's okay. Yeah. It's good. It's a good thing.
I like it. Yeah. They're also like kind of more fun stories, you guys, to share later when you're like, guess what happened to me.
Totally. And you're like scrubbing the like blood off your fingers. You're like, I couldn't even get gloved up.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's my badge of honor. Okay. I want to ask you, there's like so many other things I would want to ask you right now. We might have already covered this a little bit with some birth team chatter, but I know you're big on like birth trauma, reducing it, like just having a passion for that, which I would say, obviously you just being an educator indicates that this is how I'm combating this. But if someone were to come up to you and say, Tina, like if there's one thing I want, I do not want to walk away from my birth and say, it was traumatic. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. They're high. Is it a third right now? Yeah. That says I had a traumatic birth. So what would you say to them if you're like, I get it. Here's some things like I suggest you do to work towards preventing walking away from your birth with trauma and recognizing we obviously we don't know sometimes what will happen, but like, how can we prep and plan for that with that hope of like, What can I do? How can I take
Yeah.
some control in this situation?
I think it's a big misconception that something like catastrophic has to happen for there to be birth trauma, because it can be as little as like, I just didn't feel like anybody was talking to me and I didn't know what was happening. And so that I just felt traumatic. And so I think, again, and this is the unfortunate thing about changing birth culture, is that a lot of it falls on healthcare workers, on nurses, on residents, on med students, on the education of these people that are coming into this field. And sadly, if it's not there, like, we're going to have a really hard time pushing the needle on change. But I think that communication is the biggest thing that will always change, reverse, minimize any kind of a birth trauma, because people want to feel like they're participating in their birth instead of just birth is happening to them. And so a lot of people that I've talked to, where I said, like, you know, what felt traumatic about it, they were like, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was happening to my baby. Suddenly there was 15 people in the room and I didn't know why. And I looked over at my partner and they looked scared and they didn't know what was happening. And so you have two people just having things happen to them with having no idea. And for some reason, like in emergency situations, and I mean, I get it, because everything is going wild in those moments. Like, we sort of forget that there's a human being attached to the body that the emergency is happening to, which is really unfortunate, because so many things have to happen for things to go right if it is something catastrophic. So I think in those moments, the most important thing that any healthcare worker, nurse, resident, med student, family member, whatever, can do is remember that, like, human touch is important, eye contact's important, and so is speaking. And so if there's like people are like, oh, we're short staffed, like we couldn't get anybody in there. And I was like, literally 10 seconds. Like, somebody has 10 seconds, an educator has 10 seconds, a nursing attendant has 10 seconds, any human has 10 seconds. And they may not be trained to deal with the hemorrhage. They might not be trained to deal with the shoulders, whatever it may be. But like, they are trained to like hold their hand, look in their eyes, and be like, this is what's happening. They're doing this. I see they're putting another IV in your arm. Your partner is over there. They're doing okay. Like, just talking them through it and keeping them kind of grounded to the situation. Because my sister, I remember, she said she had a C-section with her first baby, an emergent C-section. And she says, no one told me what was happening. Suddenly I was in an operating room. I've never been in an operating room. I've never had a baby before. It was cold. It was bright. My gown was pulled off of me. People were clipping things to me all over the place. She's like, I had no idea what was happening. I didn't know where my husband was, because he was like, because they were trying to get him changed like rapidly, right? And she's like, I didn't know in that moment if me and my baby were going to live or die. She's like, I didn't know what was happening, because nobody spoke to me. So I always think about her in those moments where it's like, how scary of a situation is it where you don't know what's happening, even in the smallest things. Like, let's just say this. So if you're ever in labor and your baby's heart rate suddenly dips down, it's not always an emergency, but it is something sometimes that requires fast action for people. Because usually it's just like, we know, it's just like an umbilical cord that gets like squished up against like the wall of your uterus, and then you have a contraction, and so it squishes like this. And so in that time, it drops down and then it comes back up. So often we'll come in and we'll flip you side to side. But sometimes your baby's heart rate will dip and it won't come back up as quickly as we're thinking about. And so sometimes we act with a little bit more urgency, and maybe we need a couple more people to do a couple more things. Even in that situation, it's not an emergency, but even just explaining to them, hey, I'm going to push this button on the wall and it's going to bring a lot of people in here. And it's just because we care a whole lot about you and your baby. We're just looking out for you. Like, even just having that mental cue before 3 people barrel into the room can like minimize birth trauma. And it took nothing. It took no effort, no time, no nothing. You're there anyway. You're standing right next to them. Instead of looking at the pump that you're turning off, you could be looking at them and telling them what's happening, or talking to them while you do it. So I think patients can do it where I always say, like, put your communication preference on your birth plan, or let them know when you first come in. Be like, hey, I'm pretty type A. I really like all of the information. So if you can like just give me a play-by-play, that's really going to go a long way for me. Or if you're like, this all scares the crap out of me, I prefer less communication unless something really important is happening. But otherwise, I like a quiet room, and I just want to take it all in, and you let me know if you're concerned. Like, whatever it is that ticks to you and you can lean into, put that there. Because again, it like triggers people to be like, this is a human that has never seen this, never experienced this. If this small thing, this is something that I think should be accommodated 100% of the time. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, there's other things on birth plans that sometimes it can't happen. This can happen every single time. And I don't know why it doesn't happen. It triggers us to be like, oh, that's a person. And then they require this out of me. And I can absolutely do that while I'm still doing the other jobs that I have to do. And so having it on there is sort of a nice reminder for, I think, your staff to be like, oh yeah, like that does make sense. Yeah, I'm going to go out of my way to get that done.
It's perfect. I think that you don't see that often actually on birth plans, of like a true communication preference, but I think it is so valuable. Maybe as a nurse, let's say you always in theory do this right and you do it well, but just to have that reminder when you check someone in again of like how they need to receive information from you. Like my birth plan templates that I put out, I'm like, I don't know that I have that on there for someone to say. And this kind of circles back as well to this combo of like, Lord willing, you have a nurse you love, or you figure out how to find one that you love, is because again, like having that conversation with them when they're admitting you for your induction of saying like, hey, I want that play-by-play. So if something's going on, will you sit by my ear and will you tell me? Like, we need to be having these types of conversations with our nurses. I'm speaking as a patient right now. And I don't know that we do, but we really can and should be. And I think maybe we don't recognize, like, yeah, you can say something like that to me. Now I'm speaking as a nurse, like, of course. And I want to know because that is going to make me do a better job for you. 100%.
Totally. And I feel like this also needs to be like done pre-game. Like this needs to be done when people are in school, in med school, like this trauma-informed care, like if you're doing your last practicum in nursing school and you're in labor and delivery, like talk about a brilliant place for a nursing student to be in the case of an emergency. It's at the head of the bed with the patient because that nursing student knows that patient so well because they've invested so much time with that one patient and they can be there. And they're fluent on the things that can happen because they have had to study those things to be familiar with them, to be able to be on that unit. So like having them up there, because let's be real, like a nursing student with a massive PPH, they're not going to.
We don't want their help except for this,
like,
but not like the rest.
Like, get that IV in right now. And they're like, I've only ever done it once. I have to call my instructor to like.
Yeah, exactly.
So like the best place for them to be, even in a code, is like with the person that's charting and like visualizing everything, right, or doing CPR because they're then there in the middle of it and like they're doing the things that are really helpful that is within their scope. So like that's a brilliant place for a nursing student to be because they can really be giving them the play-by-play and touching them and making them feel ground. Like it's crazy. We forget how grounding like a human touch can be. Like if you are sort of in another world because everything is happening around you and you feel like crap, maybe you're bleeding, whatever it is, you have people jumping on you, whatever, like just having like somebody touch you, it's like, oh, like it sort of brings you back down to it and you're like, oh, okay, so what's happening? Like what's happening? And they can give that play-by-play. I'm like, there's always somebody there that can take 15 seconds out of their day to like just tell them like what's happening, what they see, like yeah, it's crazy. And I think that trauma-informed care education piece, it needs to happen in nursing school, it needs to happen in medical school, dentistry school, it needs to happen in school for teachers. Like everybody can benefit from somebody being like, I will always resort to Jen Hamilton's like, I know you're scared, but it's okay because I'm not. Like you look somebody in the eyes and you tell them that, like, I can see that you're scared. It's okay. We're not. We've got you. Like, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, you got me. Okay. And like, these are the things I think that need to be taught, on how we can deal with patients because it happens then. It doesn't happen in the moment. It happens then. And then how you approach it is what changes things.
That what you just said, like it happens then. I think that's what's so valuable for you guys is to recognize, going back to that kind of question of, I really don't want to walk away with trauma. Like I just don't want that, is to see that this might not be tied, like you said when we were starting, about to like a crash C-section or a hemorrhage. Like it can just be tied to a moment where no one stopped and reminded you that you were human and we were going to make sure you knew what was going on. And so obviously you like can't guarantee that your nurse or some provider is going to show up for you in that way. But that communication, going back to that of saying like, I want someone there for me, and just saying that out loud, like if we are in a situation, or if I speak up or have a question, or giving this job to the birth partner too, of like, hey, can we get a play-by-play?
Yes.
Like what if someone literally just said that and you're like, yes, let me tell you what's going on, because maybe I am in the middle of an IV and also I have an obligation and a duty to inform you. So even telling your birth partner, like if we're ever feeling like that, or you can see I am, like literally say, can someone please give us a play-by-play of what's going on right now? Like if that's what's going to make you feel safe. So I think that communication thing is so important for the care provider. Like half that time I was like, oh, Tina's talking to me as a nurse. And then also so important for you as a patient and asking for it and I'm going to say even like demanding it and keeping it at the forefront if you feel like your nurse isn't doing a good job with it yet.
It literally is like the one thing I say that's non-negotiable on any birth plan is like, you should be communicated with at all times how you want to be communicated with. And I say too, like, you can put on there, I want to know what's happening. And if I am unable to take that information, I want you to inform my birth partner. Like, make sure that everyone's aware that like they're a unit. And so if you relay that information to a piece of the unit, then it's going to get to the other person. And that's why I think having a birth person, a support person that is like going to be an advocate for you is really, really important, because they are going to say, hey, like, whoa. And like, prime example of this, it's like if baby's heart rate goes down and I've turned you on your side and whatever we've done, we've turned off the oxytocin, whatever it may be. And then somebody who comes in who's not there, they see what they see is the screen with the baby's heart rate that's like down and isn't coming back up. They don't come in and they don't see Angela, who's on her first baby. She's scared. Maybe she had a previous loss. Maybe she has a previous history of abuse. Like, they see baby on a screen that has a low heart rate. We need to figure out why, or we need to go for a C-section. And so maybe they might blow into the room really quickly, and they might just sort of pull a leg over and be like, I need to do a cervical check, and just put their fingers directly in. I get it. I get that you need to know what you need to know from that cervical exam, which would be, is there an umbilical cord in the way? Because that's now changing your care plan. I agree. That's a needed cervical exam. But like, just blowing in and doing that is gonna that's good. That's the trigger that's gonna cause the birth trauma right there. Like, I felt like I was not in control of my own body, and I had somebody violating me by doing something before they told me what they were going to do and asked if it was okay. And like, that's a really simple thing, to just put your hand on their knee and be like, hey, I'm worried baby's cord might come down in front of their head. Can we really quickly do a cervical exam? I can almost guarantee you in that moment, that woman's going to be like, absolutely, because they're concerned too. They know that something is not happening the way it should be. But just in the way that we choose to communicate, it can really shift that paradigm of that birth trauma.
I mean, just that little sentence, it took you, what, 2 seconds to say it? You informed them of what was going on. You gave them choice and consent. And you also let them know, like, you can speak up here as well. Like, it's just, that's 2 seconds. I think people are like, no, we have to move really fast. And I would say very, very rarely we are moving so fast that it's like, we're putting you to sleep, you know, like, yes, you have no voice at that point, but like 99.9% of the time, we can take 2 seconds to offer consent, presence, and like information. 2 seconds. I have a video that has both scenarios, and it's literally the difference of about like it's one of my favorite videos of yours,
22 seconds, right? Like, difference, and it's a completely different vibe. And I would even argue, if they're being put to sleep, yes, it's a super big emergency, right? But you're still wheeling down the hall to the OR, so you still have 10 seconds where you're rolling down the hall, and she's petrified, and her patient is probably white, and they're like, I don't know what's happening, right? And they're trying to get changed, but they're worried because their wife has got, because in those situations, we're not going to wait for you to get changed before we go. Like, we're going to go, and then another nurse is going to bring you, right? But so they're worried because they're not with you anymore, and you're worried because they're not with you anymore, and you're being rolled very fast down the hallway. There's still 10 seconds where like you literally have nothing else to do other than push that gurney down the hall.
Yeah. Like, it's one of my like most poignant memories is a cord prolapse. And I was the one who was like hand in there until we got to the OR. And I remember that ride down the OR, and I'm on the bed with the patient. And I remember talking to her the entire time. She was crying. She was terrified, obviously, like that. What? Of course. And it was the same. The partners trying to get their scrubs on. And it was just like, this is what's going on. This is what's going to happen. Like, that doesn't make you less scared, but like, there is a plan here too. Like, so just again, that communication of, we have a plan, and going back to, like you said, Jen Hamilton's thing about like, I know you're scared, but I'm not. Like, yes, that was an adrenaline filled moment for me. That's why I still remember it. But it was like, we know what to do next. And I want you to hear that from me, even though this is obviously not what you want, you know.
We know that there's a team in there waiting for us already. We're not walking into an empty OR. We're walking into an OR that's set up, ready to go. Like, we know what's happening. The anesthesiologist is standing there, or they're with us. Like, but again, that's their one experience with that one baby. So if we can take that 10 seconds to try to make that experience a little bit better, regardless of how emergent or chaotic or catastrophic the thing that's happening is, I think it's really important. And so from a patient perspective, I think that our expecting moms can just be cognizant of it, let people know ahead of time, like, hey, I really appreciate being communicated with and communicated thoroughly. If I'm unable to take that information for whatever reason, please inform my partner and they will let me know. Because a lot of times, like, if you're in the middle of a contraction, you're at the peak of a contraction and people are trying to talk to you. Like, I like roll my eyes when People are like, I need an epidural. And they're like, 12 out of 10 pain. And the anesthesiologist is like, okay, so I'm going to go over the risks of the epidural.
Oh.
Like, I've never heard somebody be like, sorry, you said that there was a slight risk of nerve damage. Can you? They're always like, I don't know.
Are you done yet?
Just put it, put it in. And then you could ask them after, like, hey, I don't know. Like, because in that moment, they're not going to process that. But that's why having that support person there and having them involved in the conversation is super, super important. So yeah, I always say like, have that. And I'll tell patients too, like when I first work with them, I said, like, I'm going to let you know if there's anything that I think is, I don't know, giving me the tingly jinglies. Like, I'm going to let you know that it's giving me the tingly jinglies. And I said, if I ever have to bring more people in the room, I'm going to tell you before I push the button. Because it's a lot. Like, I don't know if people are aware, but if you're ever in an emergency and your nurse hits the button on the wall, usually like at least 5 people flood in real fast. So I always say, like, if you're going to push the button, please let me know ahead of time. I don't want to just turn my head and be like, oh, there's a whole team of people here. A whole gaggle. So I think it boils down to communication, in my opinion. Yeah.
It's perfect. We'll put the period on it right there. It's so good. Tina, I want you to be my nurse, even though I'm done having babies, because that'd be fun.
That would be fun. I'm trying to like, anybody having a home water birth? I'd love to experience that. Like,
I know we didn't talk about that. I know you've talked about Lily, like would want to be a birth center nurse.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the primary nurse on that, but I sure would like to be a doula or be involved and see it. Because I think, people in hospital, we have a really skewed vision of home birth because we only see the worst of the worst.
The transfer.
We see the failed home birth that comes in a real bad situation, right? We don't see the amazing home births that happen and how satisfied people are. So I would love to work at a birth center. It's sad. I think you guys can work in birth centers, or
we can. I mean, sometimes different states have different rules about midwifery practice and all that. But in general, it's a possibility for people.
I kind of got stuck because I said, like, there's lots of things I would love to do and experience, but I'm stuck because nurses here, at least in Alberta, like, can only work in a hospital. So birthing centers are run by midwives and they have their own roster of backups, and it's usually always a second midwife. So there's no nurses at the birth centers. Nurses can't be part of home births, obviously, for our registration and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm like, damn. I was like, maybe I should become a doula. And I was like, maybe I should become a midwife. And I was like, oh boy, that's a lot of schooling at 44 years old to be investing.
What a privilege for the patients in the hospital who do get a nurse like you, though, who cares like so deeply for that type of experience, including in a hospital. Like, why can't we have that in the hospital too? So.
Yeah, guys, you can have an amazing hospital birth. Like, just because you're in the hospital doesn't mean it has to be as sterile and industrialized. Bring in your starlight projector and your twinkle lights and your sound machine, and just make sure you jive with your nurse, and then it can be like, it can be as amazing as it could be. Well, maybe not as amazing as it could be at home.
It can be pretty freaking good, though, I think.
It can be pretty darn special. So lots of things you can do. Just prep ahead of time.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you tell everyone where to find you? I mean, we kind of already mentioned it because you're on all the platforms, same place.
I am on all the platforms. So I always say, like, my website is my homepage. So it's bumptolatch.com. And that's where you'll find like all of my links to my socials, which I'm mama_nurse_Tina. There's also courses there. So I have prenatal, a breastfeeding, and a baby care course, which are on sale right now if you're listening in January. Otherwise, you missed out. Listen again for another deal. And then I have a really, really cute, I'll give you the first scoop. I have a very cute merch line that's coming out for all my pregnant mamas.
That's exciting.
It's going to be very, very cute. So that's coming. Anyway, but that's where you can find me. I'm around.
Okay. Yeah, she's everywhere in a good way. Like you want her to be everywhere.
You just can't get away. You go for another comedy, you're like, God damn, this girl again? Jesus. I thought she was only in the hospital. Nope.
Okay. Last question. Doesn't have to be about birth, but I don't know why it would be since you're not having a baby right now. But anyways, what's something in your life?
No, thank you. No.
That's not news break on this podcast.
That gave me a little bit of trauma. I feel like a hot flash. No. Yeah. Okay.
What is something in your life that's just bringing you a ton of joy right now? Big, small, anything?
Oh, you know what? It's that I'm like living the life I've always wanted to live. I think, as you know this, like, as parents, we sort of put our dreams and our aspirations on hold, usually as moms. And so for a period of 10 years, like, I was pregnant or breastfeeding, or I had littles at home, or, whatever it may be, kids in preschool. And I think now, like, I'm so blessed to have a partner who's, you can't do this life alone without a supportive partner. And I have the most supportive partner who's like, you know what, you shoot for the stars and we'll be here like when you come back down. So I am able to be a mom of these really cool kids and educate women around the world and travel and meet cool people and do comedy that fills my heart. And it's just like, somebody said to me the other day, they're like, you look like you're living your best life. And I was like, I really feel like I am at 44. So
It's amazing.
It's been great. So loving it.
It's amazing. I love that for you. And I would say to everyone, like, recognize that we never know when that's going to show up too. So
true. Very true. Yep.
Keep pushing. Yeah.
Yes. Just keep going.
Tina, thank you. I could talk to you forever. There were lots of things we didn't even talk about that I could have,
right?
Rabbit trails I could have gone down, but I appreciate your time.
We need
appreciate
a
what
second
you're
rabbit
doing.
Trail. Part 2.
Part 2 later. That sounds
thanks
great.
For having me.
Thanks for your time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Lo and Behold podcast. I hope there was something for you in today's episode that made you think, made you laugh, or made you feel seen. For show notes and links to the resources, freebies, or discount codes mentioned in this episode, please head over to loandbeholdpodcast.com. If you aren't following along yet, make sure to tap subscribe or follow in your podcast app so we can keep hanging out together. And if you haven't heard it yet today, you're doing a really good job. A little reminder for you before you go. Opinions shared by guests of this show are their own and do not always reflect those of myself and the Labor Mama platform. Additionally, the information you hear on this podcast or that you receive via any linked resources should not be considered medical advice. Please see our full disclaimer at the link in your show notes.